Hey folks, this is Kelani. Let's check out another spec and how it's shaping up on the Battle for Azeroth beta so far. We've only got one spec left for Warlock, so let's see how Destruction has changed and how the Nuke Your Face Off Warlock spec is faring in the next expansion. Affliction Warlock was fairly typical of what you would expect from the damage over time spec, and Demonology looks like it's going to be an incredibly fun pet-oriented spec, so if Destruction is in a good spot also, that would mean Warlocks will be a great pick for anyone wanting to play a caster, or a ranged DPS with a bit of variety between the specs and their playstyles. Remember, we're still in beta, so even if it's only for a few months, everything is still subject to change and may not reflect the finished product. Destruction Warlocks are kind of the mage spec for Warlocks, a lot of upfront damage and some crazy high damage abilities. We're still using soul shards, but they work a little differently for Destruction. Instead of just having 5 soul shards and generating 1 full shard, Destruction Warlocks generate soul shard fragments. 10 fragments equals 1 shard, so you build your soul shards very differently from both Demonology and Affliction. The great thing about this is you don't have too much RNG to rely on when it's generating your fragments and shards. All of your abilities will contribute at least a little, and then you can blast someone's face off when you have enough soul shards to unleash your largest spells. If you've played Destruction in Legion, not much has changed for their base kit. Losing your artifact and artifact ability is most of the changes you'll see, but quite a few talents have shifted around or been replaced too. As a Warlock, you're going to want to summon up a demon. Destruction locks have the same options as Affliction. You can summon an Imp, a Voidwalker, a Fell Hunter, or a Succubus. Once again, you'll probably be using a Voidwalker for leveling and then whatever pet happens to do the most damage later on, or whichever pet special ability you need to make use of. The first damaging ability we have is Immolate, which deals a bit of upfront damage and also deals damage over time. The damage over time effect will generate 1 soul fragment whenever it deals damage, and has a 50% chance to generate another fragment when the dot crits. We also have Incinerate, which will be your main filler spell, deal damage to your target and generate 2 soul fragments, plus an additional fragment when you crit. Crit is a very important stat for Destruction if you didn't guess already. It's going to get even more important as we look at other abilities too. Next up we have Conflagrate, an instant cast that deals damage to your target and triggers Backdraft, which reduces the cast time of your next Incinerate or Chaos Bolt by 30%. Conflagrate also generates 5 soul fragments and has a maximum of 2 charges. You're going to need to make good use of Conflagrate both for the soul shard generation and to speed up the casting of your other spells. Your big nuke is Chaos Bolt, which costs 2 soul shards and deals a huge amount of damage. Chaos Bolt always crits, but its damage is also increased by your critical strike chance, so you're still wanting to go in to stack up that crit. It does have a long cast time too, so the backdraft effect from Conflagrate is going to be very important. You also will only be able to fire off 2 Chaos Bolts in quick succession in most cases, so planning around your shards and Conflagrate charges will be important. Destruction Warlocks are a little unique in that they usually excel against 2 targets, mainly because of Havoc. This marks a target for 10 seconds, and during that time any single target spell you cast at another enemy also hits Havoc's target. That means you get to hit 2 chaps with the same spell for 10 seconds on a 25-second cooldown. You can even double up on your Chaos Bolts, which leads to some insane burst damage. If you're in need for some stronger AoE damage, maybe there's a few too many monsters just for Havoc, we also have Rain of Fire, and this costs 3 soul shards and deals damage over time in an AoE area. A pretty hefty cost. I wonder how many monsters you'll need to hit for this to be worth using. We also have a cooldown ability called Summon Infernal. This ability isn't really new, Warlocks have had this one for quite a while, but the way in which it works is a little different. This is the Destruction answer to the Demonic Tyrant and the Dark Glare. Summon Infernal has a 3-minute cooldown and summons a hulking Infernal from the skies, dealing damage when it lands and stunning all enemies hit for 2 seconds. The Infernal will stick around for 30 seconds, dealing AoE damage to all nearby enemies and generating a soul shard fragment every 0.5 seconds. That's 60 fragments over its entire duration, or 6 whole soul shards. Not a bad deal. That's all of our main damaging abilities, but we also have a few passives to add into the mix. First is our Mastery, which is a little weird. All of your spells deal more damage the more Mastery you have, but they also deal even more damage, which is random, up to your current Mastery value again, so you can get a 20% bonus to your damage, or a 40% bonus to your damage, all depending on the roll of a dice. We also have Soul Leech. All of your single target damage provides you with a shield for up to 10% of your max health, just like all of the other Warlock specs. From here we have all of the same utility spells that come with the Warlock class. There's Unending Resolve, a 40% damage reduction cooldown which also prevents all interrupts and silences for 8 seconds, Shadow Fury which is a 3-second AoE stun on a relatively short cooldown. Only a few classes will have AoE stuns going into Battle for Azeroth, so be sure to make a good use of it in Dungeons and Mythic Plus. We also have Command Demon to tell your current pet to use their special ability, Fear to make those silly fools who try to gank you run away like headless chickens while you ramp up a Chaos Bolt, Banish to take any demons, aberrations or elementals out of the fight, Drain Life for the times when you pull a little too much without your Voidwalker out, and Health Funnel for when you do have your Voidwalker out but you still pull too much. Then there's all of the fancy Warlock utility that makes your raid jealous, like Health Stones, Summon So Well, Soul Stones, Demonic Gateway, and Ritual of Summoning. You can also enslave any demons you find wandering out in the world, as well as play around with your little Eye of Kilrog. Apparently that's useful for scouting out areas you're too scared to go to yourself, or for acting like a secondary selfie cam. Destruction is fairly straightforward with their base kit. Keep your Immolate running on any target that's going to survive a decent period of time, Conflagrate to boost your Chaos Bolt speed, nuke their faces off with some Chaos Bolts, and if they're still alive, throw a few Incinerates their way until you can do it all over again. But what about talents? Surely they add in some fantastic complexity and a bit of spice. Well, let's have a look. On the first row we have Flashover. Conflagrate deals 10% additional damage and grants you another charge of Backdraft. That seems quite powerful considering what Backdraft does, but we also have Eradication. Chaos Bolt increases the damage you deal to the target by 10% for 7 seconds, just enough time to squeeze out another Chaos Bolt and some Incinerates. There's also a talent for Soulfire, which is an ability that's been in and out of Warlock spellbooks for many years now. It sounds like a more powerful Chaos Bolt, except it only costs 1 Soul Shard, and has a 45-second cooldown. That would be incredibly powerful if you could take it with Eradication, but I wonder how it's going to do on its own. We also have Reverse Entropy. Your spells have a chance to grant you 15% haste for 8 seconds. If this procs a lot, I could see this being very powerful. Haste is going to be a really good stat for so many classes in BFA. Infernal Combustion causes Chaos Bolt to consume up to 5 seconds left of your Immolate on the target, instantly dealing the damage instead. Then we also have Shadow Burn, another spell which has been in and out of our spellbooks. Blast the target for a bit of damage and generate 3 Soul Fragments. This has 2 charges with a 12-second recharge, but if a target dies within 5 seconds of being hit, the cooldown will be reset. Very powerful if you have a lot of small adds that are definitely going to die during your encounters. Demon Skin increases the max shield of Soul Leech to 15% of your max health and allows it to regen passively, Burning Rush lets you kill yourself to move a bit faster, and Dark Pact allows you to sacrifice 20% of your current health for a huge absorption shield. Inferno gives Rain of Fire a 20% chance to generate a Soul Shard Fragment, Fire and Brimstone causes Incinerate to hit all enemies near your target for 40% of normal damage, and you generate 1 Soul Shard Fragment for each additional enemy hit, Cataclysm breaks open the ground at your target location, dealing damage over time and applying Immolate to all enemies hit. Dark Fury reduces the cooldown of Shadow Fury by 15 seconds, Mortal Coil gives you another single target fear which restores 20% of your max health, and Demonic Circle allows you to plop down a portal and teleport back to it whenever you see fit. Roaring Blaze causes Conflagrate to also apply a damage over time effect, Grimoire of Supremacy interacts with your Infernal cooldown. While your Infernal is active, every Soul Shard you spend increases the damage of your Chaos Bolt by 8%. There's some crazy potential there if you can set things up right. Grimoire of Sacrifice allows you to roll petless. You gain the special ability of the pet you sacrifice, and your spells also have a chance to deal extra damage. On the last row we have Soul Conduit. Every Soul Shard you spend has a 15% chance to be refunded. Channel Demon Fire launches a volley of Fellfire at random targets afflicted with your Immolate. Each bolt deals damage to the target as well as extra AoE damage to everything around them. And our last talent is Dark Soul Instability, which increases your critical strike chance by 30% for 20 seconds. Gotta get those crits in for more Soul Shards and to boost your Chaos Bolt damage even further. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point during this expansion we saw Destrolocks one-shotting people in PvP again. It's always fun to see. Not so fun when you're on the receiving end though. And that's it for our talents. A few changes here and there, some have swapped rows and a few rows moved around, but I think there's a few choices you can make to either increase the amount of buttons and spells you have access to, or just dump your entire setup into Chaos Bolt and empower them through the roof. Whichever playstyle fits you best, and ultimately whichever setup does more damage, I guess. I always felt like Destruction Warlock wasn't really a Warlock spec because it felt very much like a mage, but I think it's actually a great addition to the other two playstyles you get from Affliction and Demonology. If you want to hop between a pet spec, a damage over time spec and an upfront spellcaster spec, Warlock is really your only choice. It's probably the most varied spellcaster that we have in the game, which is really cool. I think we'll also see a lot of Warlocks in the next expansion just because of demonology changes, but I think both Affliction and Destruction will be really strong in their own ways too. Not too much has really changed from Legion when it comes to Destruction, just enough to keep things a little interesting, and then obviously you won't have your artifacts, so there's a button or two gone there, but I think the spec still works really well overall, and it doesn't feel like it has something significant missing, which is definitely a good thing. A few specs still feel a little lackluster after losing their artifacts. I guess we'll have to see how everything gets patched up, but that's it for this preview of Destruction Warlock in Battle for Azeroth, and finishes up our Warlock videos. I wonder which one we'll look at next. Death Knight is definitely on my radar, but Moonkin is meant to be getting some really good changes soon, so maybe we'll tackle Druids first. Maybe I'll eeny meeny miny moe it. Who knows? What do you think of Destruction Warlock so far? Are you considering playing a Warlock in Battle for Azeroth? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd like to say a massive thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon. You guys are the bee's knees and keep me chugging along. If you want to hop on that train, you can find a link in the description below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.